Hi Chocolatiers, so this week I'm talking about dyspraxia, which is a learning difficulty under the autism spectrum umbrella. Now it's also called DCD and clumsy child syndrome, but it also affects a lot of people surprisingly, but it's one of those not as heard much conditions than what it used to be. It's a lot heard more now than what it was heard of when I was a kid. A lot of people know about it more now because of the training that people have done and the resources that are out there. Now, Dyspraxia Foundation was a charity that used to support people with dyspraxia, but sadly that's now closed down. But there are support groups on Facebook which I'm a part of. Now, dyspraxia is something that I've had ever since I was a kid, and it was first picked up when I was in primary school when my teacher saw a TV program on it and realised that's a thing that I have. And so she told my mum, and I had physiotherapy and occupational therapy. Then as an adult and in college I had referrals, so I had one while I was going to university, and then another referral when I was an adult, just to see how it would affect me. Now, dyspraxia affects fine motor skills, balance, speech, memory. I struggle to include and remember information, like a lot of instructions. I can't really follow directions that well, so I have to use visual aids like a map, and I have to use landmarks to pinpoint my location to remember where I'm going on an unfamiliar journey. Now, I also can't process information as quickly as a normal person because it takes me a lot to break down tasks, and I have to break down tasks into little chunks so that they're manageable to do and complete. Now, I did have help in school where I got 25% extra time in exams. In college, I had a note taker and handouts, and also I had a blue and yellow plastic sheet to read books from, because I've also got slight dyslexia. But my dyspraxia also affects the fact that I had to have a laptop and electrical equipment for university, and because I got a lot of help in university the first 2 years, I didn't realise how much help I needed in the last year. So that's why I struggled really with the amount of work, because it was a lot of work to do. Now, over the years, I've struggled in jobs, particularly when I worked at Tesco, because it didn't help that I had different managers coming in and going all the time. So I had to explain my condition to them. And then I had to have the full 3 years that I was working there for them to develop a system that we were both happy with for me to work there. As in, because I have to break down tasks into manageable chunks, on trolleys, putting food out on shelves and drinks on shelves, I could do big pop aisle, no problem, because it was bang, bang, bang straight on the shelf. But turn around on the same aisle, there was health and beauty. And because there was a lot of different parts on the health and beauty aisle, it could have been my first trolley at the start of shift, and I could have been still on that same trolley at the end of the shift because of the way that my brain works, and I struggled to cope. And when I was on tills, there was always a massive queue, and I'd always struggle, particularly when I was on my own and there was no help coming until later on in the shift from managers and co-workers. Now, I've also struggled with distance, and when I did Camp America, quite often the co-workers that were working with me each week and the colleagues that are working with each week would sometimes tell me to back off, which obviously is not my fault because I couldn't help it because of my dyspraxia, but they obviously didn't understand that. So I did struggle with that. And then when I did work at the bushcraft company, I struggled really to make many friends. I got on with a lot of people, but I struggled a lot, particularly when I got bullied and the managers didn't do anything about it. I'm glad that I left that job. But as I say, that job, I enjoyed working with the kids and I enjoyed the people that I met, some of them anyway. But I'm glad I left. And when I've been on job seekers allowance, I've struggled because I've had it hard to find jobs, and I found it really tough to face rejection, particularly when I'm not hearing back for interviews, and when I go for interviews not getting a job and saying I've not got enough experience, particularly when it's retail. Now, I've been on. I was glad that I was put on PIP because that helped a lot and eased my calm me down. But the problem is that when I volunteered, I did so much volunteering that I suffered burnout, so I had to stop. So I studied different courses, but I've now studied all I wanted to do. And now, as in, I had this idea to start my own business, but whether I will, obviously my main plan is see what happens in my PIP review, and then maybe see whether I can get a job to get experience and boost my CV. Otherwise, it'll just, obviously I want a job that I enjoy and I'm happy with. But obviously, once I'm in a job, then that's guaranteed money coming in. And then maybe I can look at starting my business as a second job. But we'll see. Right now, my plan is to try and find something to do to keep my mind occupied. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye.